Hi everybody, Dan Illman here, taking a look at race number 5 at Santa Anita on Tuesday, December the 26th, opening day of the Santa Anita Winter Meet. Grade 1 stakes action for 3-year-old fillies on turf. This is the American Oaks, and they're going a demanding 1.25 miles. Let's take a look at this field. Anisette, the number 2, who showed off such a strong stretch kick in winning races like the San Clemente and the Del Mar Oaks earlier this year, looking to get back to her winning form after being beaten in her last 2 starts. She should appreciate this 1.25 mile distance. She just seems versatile enough to handle anything, but she doesn't have a lot of early speed, so she's going to be at the mercy of pace, and she's just hoping for at least a fair pace. We throw up the Timeform US pace projector. They like the 7 Musical Mischief to get to the front, and I can see it. She's been running in dirt races where the paces are fast. This will be her turf debut. There doesn't appear to be a ton of speed, however, in this race. The 4 Alonda Queen is a horse that has been at the back of the pack in her 2 starts in North America. She's expected to be close. Be Your Best, I think, is a horse that might be able to take advantage if the pace is slow, because she's shown some speed as well. But for Anisette, it might be imperative for her jockey to try to stay at least within range when they begin sprinting for home, because it doesn't appear like there's a ton of speed. We'll start things off with the number 1 Kinjani, making her North American debut for trainer Mark Glatt. She sold for about $212,000 earlier this month, and now will be making her North American debut after winning her most recent start in England. She wasn't facing the top competition over there, running in handicap races. Now she's going to be stepping up in class, but it appears she's found a good grade 1 for her to get into. Maybe not some of the big names of the division are in this race. Frankie Dettori takes the mount on Kinjani. A lot of these European horses often break slowly from the gate, and if Kinjani does so, she could be at the mercy of the race flow. Anisette is the number 2. Her credentials and Beyer speed figures speak for themselves. Her most recent race was the Autumn Miss, and the winner of that race just took the bull by the horns from the start, opened up a big lead. Anisette was briefly in behind horses turning into the stretch. She did her best to rally for second, but the horse on the lead just had too much of a jump. That was the 1 mile Autumn Miss, and now she's going to get back out to 1.25 miles for trainer Leonard Powell. And it just appears that Anisette is the class of this race, bringing the best speed figures in as well. She's simply the horse to beat, but you must be worried about the lack of pace in this race to set her up. Grace Period is the number 3, and she showed a little tactical speed in her North American debut 2 starts back for Powell, who of course also trains Anisette. Maybe Grace Period is in this race to help set up the pace for Anisette. Her most recent start was a first level allowance going 1 mile, and she finished a rallying 5th. She's going to have to obviously improve by leaps and bounds to win this race, but maybe Grace Period is in here to help out her uncoupled stablemate. The 4 is Alonda Queen, and I think she's somewhat interesting in this race. Her first 2 starts in North America don't look very strong on paper, but she was in against some really good competition. First was the Queen Elizabeth II Cup at Keeneland, and the winner of that race, Mauge, came back to do some very nice things in the Breeders' Cup. Alonda Queen just didn't get any pace really to run at that day, and she didn't do much running. In the Matriarch last time out, another grade 1 race, let's watch the replay. She turns for home, cuts the corner, and she just has nowhere to go. She's completely stymied. It's questionable how much running she would have done against those tough foes if she was able to get clear, but it's probably best to take that running line with a grain of salt, because she just didn't have anything to run at in the stretch. From a room standpoint, Alonda Queen this time around, if she breaks, might be able to get into a good rhythm, and I think that she's going to try to get to the outside in the stretch. A distance is a bit of a question for Alonda Queen. She was mostly a miler overseas. She did some good things there, winning a Group 3 in France. I think there's enough pedigree for her to get 1.25 miles, and maybe this is what she's been waiting for. I think this is a weaker grade 1, certainly, than the Matriarch, where she was facing some older horses. Sakura Flavor is up next, and she scored in this race over the all-weather at Golden Gate Fields last time out. It took her 9 races to break her maiden, and she got a good pace set up here. The pace was solid. She was able to run them down. It was a nice performance, to be sure. Now she's stretching out a 1/4 mile, stepping out of a maiden race into a grade 1 and moving from synthetic to turf. So the obstacles are fairly obvious. Be Your Best is the number 6, and Be Your Best was a good second, although a no-match second to Anisette in the Del Mar Oaks 3 starts back. They then ran her in the Sands Point during the Belmont at the Big A meet. She caught yielding ground that she's not used to, and I don't think she cared for it. And last time out, they ran her in the Twilight Derby against the boys, and she fell far, far behind early. I mean, that's not Be Your Best's best running style, and I just think she had way too much to overcome, a race which has already produced one next out winner of a second level allowance with a 95 buyer. She's back in with fillies in here. I think she has more speed than she showed certainly in that last race. Arad Ortiz Jr. takes up the mount. She's a horse that has some back races that would make her competitive, and you might want to consider her at a price. Musical Mischief's going to try turf for the first time. Distance, though, is what she wants. Her first 3 starts were going one turn, and she just couldn't reach her best potential. She then stretched out around 2 turns. She found a nice, easy spot at Horseshoe Indianapolis to graduate, and then last time out at Churchill Downs, they stretched her out even more in an off-turf race, and she won. Why does she like distance so much? Well, probably because of her pedigree. She's by the great stallion Into Mischief, but she's also a half-sister to Bright Future, who won the Jockey Club Gold Cup earlier this year. Into Mischief wins 13% with turf routers, and while this is mostly a dirt pedigree, if you believe this race just comes down to stamina and pace, Musical Mischief is expected to be close to the pace. Maybe she can pull off a slight upset. Distance again is her friend. Let's take a look at my top selections for the American Oaks. I hate that I chalked out with Anisette in here. I just think she's way the horse to beat. In multiple race wagers, however, you might want to consider, if you're using a backup, Alonda Queen. I don't think she's been allowed to show what she can do in her first 2 starts in North America, once against the talented Mauge at Keeneland when perhaps pace compromised, and in her most recent start where you saw she had severe traffic trouble. She is the horse that you might want to look at as sort of a value option to Anisette, who again is the horse to beat in the American Oaks on opening day at Santa Anita on Tuesday. Good luck.